Well, hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of Harebrained Games, the week in games for March 3rd. That's right, it is March. It has been 3 weeks since my last confession, week in games. So clearly, I am very consistent in my inconsistency. Let's get to the news. Okay, well, you've heard of Tallyman, or maybe you haven't. It is an old, ancient board game that I honestly didn't find that interesting when I first played it, and I still don't. But a lot of people found it popular. And what better way to say, hey, Tallyman's still here, I still matter, than to mix it in with Kingdom Hearts. Yeah, don't know on that one. We'll see. Just finishing Kingdom Hearts 3 on PlayStation. Just gotta love it. I mean, hey, come on. Goofy, Pluto, please. It's awesome. That said, I don't know how well this will mesh, but we'll find out. The other exciting news, even more exciting for me, is that Castles of Burgundy by Stefan Feld is now on digital formats on Steam for the PC and on mobile platforms at iOS and Android. The initial scuttlebutt was generally waffling between positive and negative. They seem to have cleaned up some technical issues with the mobile platform. The game itself is very, very differently presented on as far as the interface and such than you would on the board. It is not a one-to-one translation, which I find good, others less so. It's a very circular interface, and so they try and mash all of the things that you need to know because it really is a sprawling game and laying it out on the table. But if you put it in the sort of that circular format they had, I actually thought it worked really well. Someone called it a great usage of economy of screen space, and I completely agree with that. So give it a shot if you want to. Castles of Burgundy on Steam or iOS/Android. And finally, Star Wars Outer Rim will be coming out sometime this year. This is by Corey Konitskia, who also assisted in other Star Wars games. This one deals not with the dark side or the light side, but the seedy underbelly side. So it's striking like a little Knights of the Old Republic kind of style, or maybe even sort of a Firefly-ish kind of doing missions and deeds kinds of things. So that's a no-brainer. I will be buying it, and we'll see what happens. And with that, let's get to my question of the week. Alright, everybody at some point along the way has asked me a question because they wanted to be tongue-in-cheek. If you were on an island and you were stranded and you had one game to pick, which would you pick? So why not? I'll answer it, because I probably would answer it a different way no matter when I was posed the question. First off, that would suck. The game I wouldn't take would be Friday, because I'd be frustrated enough without having to take Friday from Freedom and Freeze onto a very frustrating portion of a journey anywhere that had me stranded on an island. I'm hoping it's a tropical island. The first thing is interesting, even though it's a tongue-in-cheek question, the first thing I think of is, okay, what game is going to give me the most content? I mean, what game could I just play and go through? And obviously, Gloomhaven would probably be on top of that list as far as being able to just play and play for a very long time. That's probably maybe. But then again, it dawned on me that I might want a thematic game. Maybe I want Archipelago, or Hawaii, or Treasure Island. Did I think of that? Well, maybe not. Then it dawned on me that probably if I was on a stranded island, or if I was stranded on an island, and it was just me, I probably would have maybe, 10 to 40 days to live, based on whether there was fresh water or not, or food, or whatever. I probably wouldn't make it too long, so maybe I don't want the game that has the most content. Maybe I want a game that I think I could play through in 10 to 40 days and get the most out of. And that I would pick Earth Reborn, which I think I don't know of anybody who's actually tapped into and played the full of Earth Reborn. If you have, congrats. You have my undying honor, gratitude. And the other one is Zia Legends of a Drift System, which I think I could play a lot of. There are other games in that vein. And finally, Dog's Life is a game that I would like to take on an island, because then I would know that the designer didn't take everybody's money and run, and I would have known that the Kickstarter would actually have been fulfilled. Yeah, that's a subtle shot at A Dog's Life and their Kickstarter, where years later people still don't have the product. They do have great excuses, though. Awesome excuses. So then it just came down to the fact that what if I was going to get a game, instead of all those other criteria, it would be I would want a game that was both fun and flammable, so that I could make a big, big pillar of smoke to the sky should any freighter come my way. And finally, that led me to the game that I would take with me on a desert island if I was trapped, and it was just me, and that would be GMT's Fields of Fire. Because by the time I was either rescued or dead, I might have finally figured out the rules for it. So with that, let's get to my next segment. 3 games of the week. Okay, I have to apologize to some of my listeners or watchers who wanted me to give my thoughts on Root. I actually took the last 2 weeks and had it set up on the table and have been going through it incessantly. My problem with Root is that, one, the board is warped, really warped, and I have to go back and kind of talk to them about it because it's like I've done everything I would normally do to boards that come in warped and it has not worked. It is just a shimmering mess of crap. Which is sad because it's so awesome looking board. If worse comes to worse, I can just put a flat glass on it and play that way. But the bigger problem is that I kept playing through it. I just realized I was learning it mechanically, but I wasn't really playing it. And so I wasn't really getting a good vibe. I really feel like this game, because of how asymmetric all 4 roles play, that I'm not going to do it justice until I actually get a session where I can play with some humans. The solo play comes in the expansion pack, but it's not that great. So I do apologize. I will someday play this when I get an opportunity, but I want to do it when I can give it full justice and not just comment on it rote mechanically. So that's sorry. I will work on it. Root. Spynet. Spynet is a game that I bought not because it's from Richard Garfield, who made Magic the Gathering. You may have heard of that. Or even because it's a spy theme. I bought it because it's got this really cool art that's black and white, except in certain spots there's color. Everybody knows every good spy game starts with that. We'll find out. It's a 2 to 4 player game. I have no idea more about it. And finally, game 3 is Cataclysm. This is a sandbox recreation of the period of time in which the Second World War would commence. Now, why do I describe it like that? Because honestly, there's no guarantee when you play this game that World War II will break out in the way you think it will break out, or even in slight variants. This is the beauty of this game that I'm learning, is that I'm unfolding and getting into it with the instructions and such. This is not a boots on the ground war game per se. This is a game that simulates the area, from 1933 all the way through the period and even beyond when World War II would happen. Why? Because you don't know what's going to happen. Because in each place, things could happen politically, diplomatically, and militarily to completely change the face of what might have happened. It's a sandbox what if that I'm looking forward to diving into. I hope someday to do a review on, but it is a deep game and one that I think holds a lot of appeal for me because I have n number of games on World War II that all recreate what happened. This is what didn't happen that possibly could have happened that might have swayed the entire conflict in plausible and interesting ways. So that's my 3 games of the week. Now we'll get to my final section. Tim's Tantrum. Get off my land. I'm actually done with Tim's Tantrum. After thinking about it and talking with some locals about it, Tim's Tantrum is... My tantrums come and go. I can't... Sometimes I manufacture, I don't know. There's so much negativity. I tend to be a negative guy, and I have to work hard not to be. So, while Tim's Tantrum might have had some interesting points to make, I think now I'll just make them in line whenever it comes up. No one's ever had a problem saying, "Gee, I never know when you're having a tantrum." So I'm not going to do my hey thing. There's plenty of negative points to make about the industry. I'm going to stick with something. Yeah, I don't think anyone's going to miss Tim's Tantrum. As much as I like saying, "Get off my land," it's time to move on and get off my land. So, we're going to do a new segment. It's called, Was Tim Full of Crap? That's right. I'm going to go through my Board Game Geek list collection of all the games I own, alphabetically, and I'm going to tell you, based on what I ranked it when I added it in the comments I made, whether I was on point, or I think it's still reasonable, or whether I was full of crap. We're going to start with #POTUS, which was the game last year, my favorite game of last year in 2018. I rated it, I think, a 10, 9 or 10, and I expressed that I loved the fact that they could take such a controversial topic and make it fair and reasonable and absolutely awesome in the way that the game plays out. This is POTUS, Battle Inside the White House. The game board, it had a Twilight Struggle vibe that I have not seen since. here. So as you can see from the wonderful artwork, it's a compelling, rich, engaging game from Thomas Prowl. Oh, what? You don't see? Oh. Yeah, there was a problem. It didn't make its Kickstarter goal, which is sad but understandable. It turns out the world is weary of the entire subject, which took away from the awesomeness of the game, no matter how much I sung its praises. I do not regret the grading I give. I don't think I ever will, because it is still a game I will play anytime that I get a chance to get 4 people playing. There is hope for this game. I hope that that same system that Thomas Prowl has put into this can be used for maybe something of a less volatile topic, maybe another engagement, another historical period when 4 factions with this kind of schism amongst each other was pronounced in history, and maybe start there and do a game similar of it, because it is a fantastic system, and one that I think is one of the few that I actually found way cooler playing with people than without. So, I do not change my rating for hashtag POTUS. Even though it's not a game that exists, I'm so thankful for my prototype copy in the pizza box. But that's it. That's what we have for today. Thank you for joining, and we will see you next time on Harebrained Games.